Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. I'm Kevin Freeman. We're joined now by head cross-country coach Gary Aycock. Coach, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me back.
I didn't ask you this last time you were on the show, but I wanted to ask you how you got into coaching. What has it made you want to become a cross-country coach, and was there some defining moment when you were that moved you in that direction?
Wow, so how'd that get into coaching? Well, it definitely wasn't a traditional route that most coaches take. Right out of school, I worked in law enforcement, and I was actually the operations sergeant with the campus police at St. Andrews Presbyterian College down the road. While working, I was training and racing on the weekends in local road races with the Grand Prix with North Carolina Road Runners, and the runners on the current team kind of gravitated towards me at St. Andrews. They were being coached by an assistant baseball coach, who of course cross country's in the off season, so I don't need to say how that team was faring in the conference and region. Well, anyway, I was training with them and was approached by the athletic director one day at lunch. He said, "So what do you think about the time that you spent with the men and women here at St. Andrews running?" And I said, well, there's a lot that could be done. A good recruiting class within the CVAC could put them at the top of the list in the conference and the region. And that conversation went stale, and we went on to talk about something else. Well, about 2 weeks later, Rick Johnson, again, who was athletic director at St. Andrews, called me and said, I want you to consider taking over the programs. And I said, well, Coach, I said, I don't really have any background in phys ed or coaching. I said, but, I'd consider giving it a shot. And he said, well, why don't you go down the road to UNCP and enroll and, start studying phys ed, and you can be working here in the meantime. And again, I just was blessed with the opportunity, and things worked out, and the team started winning, and here I am today. And it's been a rocky road because, trying to work and go to school at the same time. Again, it wasn't the traditional approach, but it's worked for me.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the teams real fast. The UNCP men, we'll start with them first. They're fourth in the regional rankings after a seventh place finish at the Walt Disney World Classic a couple of weeks ago. Talk about the men's team progression at this point. How are they developing?
Well, we're developing well. The training is going well. The racing is going well. Disney was an incredible experience despite the monsoon rains that came through Florida that particular week. But it was a challenging race. It was about 30 teams, and I was pleased with the seventh place finish. The women on the similar note ran well at Disney as well. So their training is going hand in hand with the racing, and we have the conference championships coming up, and I expect both teams to do fairly well.
Right. Yeah. The women they're sixth in the regional rankings right now, and they finished ninth at the Walt Disney Classic there. Well, you mentioned the conference championships. Let's talk about those real quick. They're today, the day that this program airs, at Pacer Park in Aiken, South Carolina. The men are running 8K, the women are running 6K. Both teams, as of now anyway, are the highest-ranked Peach Belt teams in the regional standings. Do you think you can win both?
There's always a chance. I don't give I don't put much into the region rankings. I mean, it is what it is, but what people really don't realize about the sport of cross country is that the regular season rankings mean nothing as far as a championship performance. The championship comes down to one race on one day, and anything can happen. I've seen teams that were favored to win a conference championship or region championship come down with a flu bug, wipes out an entire team, and they lose the conference championship despite having not lost all season. So anything can happen. It's always nice to be at the top of the region rankings. I think we have a good shot at winning the title on both the men's and women's side. But again, it comes down to one race on one day.
Well, which runners, let me ask you this, which runners for both the men and the women have made the most improvement over the course of the season, do you think?
Well, it's hard to single out one guy or one girl and say that they've improved more so than the others. We talked a couple weeks ago about the freshman class, and they are continuing to train and race extremely well. On the men's side, Pardon Luvu is continuing to burn up the race courses. He's had some great race performances at Charleston, at the Charlotte race, at Disney. So I expect him to be the conference title winner and hopefully make a run for the individual title at the regions, and then we'll see what happens at the national championships. On the other side, we have Livia Mahaffey, and Livia was recruited, this is her second year at UNC Pembroke, and she was recruited as a 400-meter runner. So here she is, I think she has the fastest time in the conference right now at 5K. So she's one of the favorites to win the conference championships, but we were talking with my coaching staff the other day, and we thought, Livia's never won a race, she's never led a race, and here she is a favorite to win the conference title. So we're working on some things with race strategy with her, and hopefully, we can come out on top.
Well, let me ask you this, what kinds of differences are there, if any, with the training, the regimens, and the diets between your male runners and your female runners?
You know, there's very little difference. As far as the training goes, again, the men race a championship distance of 10K and the women 6K. So the basic variance is in their volume of miles and based percentage-wise off the intensity of what they do in interval and rep workouts. But there's very little differences. The diet of a distance runner is one of the most overlooked things within running programs, and it's a constant struggle with the men and women on our team to do the right thing outside of practice, outside of the race environment. I joke with them about a conversation I had with a lady at Golden Corral after our UNC Charlotte race, and where she came up to me after she saw our men and women at the buffet lines and what they were eating and how much they were eating. Like, how in the world did they stay so thin and so fit eating that much food?
But anyway, Coach, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more to Coach Aycock about the coming Peach Belt Championships and beyond.